morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Permit Wizard, an overview of Ohio EPA's newly updated online permitting and compliance tool. My name's Helen Miller with the Division of Environmental and Financial Assistance here at Ohio EPA, and I will be moderating this morning's presentation. Our presenter this morning is Emily Eskridge from our Office of Compliance Assistance and Pollution Prevention. Now I will turn the mic over to our presenter, Emily.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Emily Eskridge. I am the supervisor of the Environmental Assistance Unit at Ohio EPA's Office of Compliance Assistance and Pollution Prevention. Our group offers a variety of compliance assistance services to small businesses in Ohio, but we're also the group that's responsible for the development of self-guided compliance assistance tools that can be used by businesses in Ohio to help them with their environmental compliance needs or your environmental regulatory needs. I'm really excited to share this overview of our newly released Permit Wizard tool with you today, so let's get started. Here's a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today. I want to provide a quick introduction to OCAP and the services and tools we provide businesses in Ohio. We're then going to move into Permit Wizard and learn about it as a tool and see the updates we've made this year, and then we're going to have a quick demonstration over the tool itself. As I mentioned before, I'm the supervisor of the Environmental Assistance Unit in Ohio EPA's Office of Compliance Assistance and Pollution Prevention. I'm going to assume that many of you are here today to learn about our Permit Wizard tool because you either own a business that must comply with environmental regulation, maybe you're the person at your office that's tapped to manage those environmental needs, or you're maybe someone who just assists multiple businesses complying with environmental regulations. It's also just possible, maybe you're a huge fan of wizards. You wanted to check out what we were going to talk about today. That's the case. Prepare to be amazed with some compliance magic that we're going to show you a little bit later. If you are a larger industry, I know we've got a couple people here from some larger businesses, larger communities. Please tell your friends about Permit Wizard as well and the services we provide, especially suppliers to you. Sometimes, it's great to have word of mouth as well about these kinds of things that we offer. Since you hold these roles and are interested in our Permit Wizard tool, it's really likely that you would also potentially benefit from other services we offer here in OCAP. OCAP's a free and confidential, non-regulatory team located within Ohio EPA. We exist to help businesses, essentially, with their regulatory compliance needs. And we provide a host of services such as assistance with permitting applications and forms, help with record-keeping requirements and on-site visits for environmental compliance. We also offer on-site visits for pollution prevention assistance as well. In addition to the technical environmental compliance assistance that we provide, OCAP also provides grant funding for recycling initiatives and projects. We administer the Ohio Materials Marketplace and Ohio EPA's Encouraging Environmental Excellence Recognition programs. All of these services that we provide are free to businesses, can save you time and money, and we're here to help. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Like I mentioned before, we also are in charge of other kind of self-guided assistance tools that we provide to businesses if you just want kind of a self-guided look on what you need and how to help, with your regulatory needs. We also host these options such as webinars like we're having today. So you can come to attend some of our other webinars and learn about specific requirements to your business. We put together guidance manuals and fact sheets. Those are often hosted on our website. And then we are the group that maintains our Permit Wizard tool. So we've provided a big update to it, and we're excited to talk about that today. I'm going to take a quick moment and just pause briefly. Like I said, any of our services, we're free, we're confidential, we're non-regulatory, so we can't issue violations or anything like that. But if you are interested in any of those additional services beyond our Permit Wizard tool, please scan this QR code. It should take you to our website for more information, or feel free to call us at our toll-free number here. All right. On to the main event. I know y'all are all excited to come here today, learn about our new Permit Wizard compliance tool. We at Ohio EPA have had the Permit Wizard tool, I think, for almost 15 years now, but it's undergone a variety of updates and iterations to make it more user-friendly for our customers. We want you to be able to use it. We want it to be really productive for you. It's a great tool, and we're extremely excited about our most recent addition, and we hope you find it useful for your business. Okay, so let's start off with what Permit Wizard actually does. Permit Wizard is a free self-guided tool that's online, and it allows our users to confidentially evaluate their environmental regulatory requirements in Ohio. That's a really long way of saying that it helps determine your regulatory requirements. It doesn't actually apply for those permits with you, but it's a great way for you to take a look around your business and give you kind of a general overview about what you might need. And then it allows you to even take a deeper dive. Once you've done that quick overview, you can look into more questions about whether or not you maybe qualify for an exemption or a simplified application process, such as like applying for a general permit or maybe a permit by rule. Once you've been identified, it also provides you helpful links, web pages, guidance sheets, videos even that you can watch about these requirements. We provide contacts through Permit Wizard as well, and it directs you to the appropriate forms or locations to apply for those needed permits. So, like I said, this tool is designed to help you know what kind of permits or regulatory requirements you might have for your business, and then help you get where you need to go in order to make that happen for you. So let's talk a little bit about our existing Permit Wizard, or what was existing Permit Wizard back before we have the new application deployed. Like I said, Permit Wizard has existed before. It was a tool that we had available. It was pretty thorough before this iteration, and this one's still thorough, but it was so thorough that it got pretty lengthy, and it provided a really deep dive. What we found, though, is that, being in this modern age, we're looking for quick answers typically. And because of the length that it took to complete it, businesses sometimes would get into it and then ultimately call us instead to help them provide assistance. So we wanted to set some new goals for ourselves, update this version, make it really user-friendly, and try to make it something that's more usable for businesses out there and just improve upon what was already working for us with this old application. So, like I said, we set up some application design goals. The limitations from our previous version, led to this discussion of improvements we'd really like to see with this new edition. How can we make it comprehensive, but also really quick and simple to use? We have a really successful customer service model when we work on the phone with businesses, and we kind of wanted to replicate that feel for customers using this tool. So ultimately, we designed it like a phone call, like a customer would have with our compliance assistance specialist. We also wanted to improve the speed that customers got their information and give them the option to have just a really quick general overview or take that deeper dive and determine, do they have an exemption or a general permit or something that applied to them. In order to do this, we kind of focused on what we like to call the 80-20 rule. And based on the data we had, we identified common industries that use our service and common inquiries we receive for customers around the state. We wanted to help address those questions really fast and create kind of designated pathways for them. We also wanted to simplify as much technical jargon or math as we could so that customers didn't have to do it themselves, or they had a really clear, measurable reference point for themselves to help them understand what they might qualify for. Lastly, because we focused on the speed at which answers are received, we wanted to make sure that we erred on the side of caution. And if an answer was very complex and the ultimate outcome was that they may have a regulatory requirement with our agency, but at the same time, maybe there's some weird underwater basket weaving exemption that exists there that might apply, we wanted to direct you to the division or our Office of Compliance Assistance to help you make that determination so that you're not sitting there for a long time trying to figure that out, answer these very narrow questions or specifics yourself. So we erred on the side of caution by sending those users to us directly. So sometimes there's these very narrow sets of complex criteria, and we didn't want you to navigate that alone. We thought you would get your fastest answer by working directly with us as an agency. Ultimately, this led us to a set of criteria that developed these fast flow models that we have here in our new Permit Wizard. We started with 15 of them, and then we decided that, well, we actually had a few more. We probably will continue to add to this in our new Permit Wizard model as we go. But currently there's 18 buttons that you can select when you get there, and you can see they're kind of divided by industry-specific topics like aggregate processing, or maybe certain media or permit requirements like industrial stormwater management. Ultimately, we made some really great updates to our new Permit Wizard application. This application was deployed in December, so technically it occurred in 2022. I know the year's changed over, so it's 2023. You're probably looking at it this year. But we have updated the information that's in Permit Wizard. That was one of our challenges before, was making sure it stayed updated. And now we have the opportunity to do that with a hub that we have in the background, so we can make really quick updates to it. The information provided there is recent. We also added a feature to our new Permit Wizard application that allows for customer diversion. This makes sure that if you're looking for an answer and you wind up in Permit Wizard, but it's not the right tool for you, you get where you need to go appropriately. So if you're just a resident with a residential concern, it would take you to residential concerns. If there's a complaint, this isn't really the tool for complaints. So it would take you to where you can actually file a complaint with our agency. It also helps divert really large businesses, so very large industrial complexes, to their right division as well for better guidance for themselves. We developed fast answers for common inquiries. Like I just showed you, we have these buttons that are available that kind of create pathways for individual businesses and activities or individual permit needs. And then we try to reduce the technical requirements for our customers. So when you get into Permit Wizard and it starts asking you questions about, maybe the rule has a requirement for hazardous waste and it has to be 100 kilograms per month that you can generate. We've defined that now to be more like half a 55-gallon barrel. That kind of requirement, those kinds of tips are in there for you so that it's a measurable quantity that you're used to seeing as opposed to 100 kilograms. So we've tried to really simplify that as well. We also include multiple relevant web links, videos, guidance documents, and permitting links. Like I said before, that's available for you now. This helps determine your requirements. And then we also want you, while you're there, to know what you need in order to get those requirements established for your business. All right. Well, if you're ready, I'm ready to take a look at Permit Wizard. So let's look at it. Okay. When you arrive at Ohio EPA's website, Permit Wizard can be located in our Customer Support Center. One of probably the best ways to find it is if you scroll to the bottom of our webpage, there's a button right here that says Customer Support Center. So let's get started and go into our Customer Support Center. Our Customer Support Center also has FAQs and other resources for businesses, but you'll find Permit Wizard here at the top as its own application. Permit Wizard starts with this opening screen here. It's got general directions about how to use it, how to navigate this, what the icons at the top mean, as well as what you may see in terms of drop downs and things here to use, how to navigate it using the back button, the next button, just general instructions for navigating the application. So you'll press next, and then you'll arrive at the opening screen. There's a couple of caveats here. It talks about what the tool is for, and then a disclaimer that, it's not a binding and exhaustive permitting definition. Like we said, we erred on the side of caution, so you may find that sometimes it directs you to our agency, but it really gives you a great general overview for your businesses and potentially lets you even drill down to know what kind of exemptions and other options may apply to you as well. As I mentioned before, we have this new customer diversion aspect here. This makes sure that you're in the right place. If you are just an individual with a residential concern and you click on this, you can provide your county, press next, And it'll give you some options about, like, I'm concerned about home radon. And if you press next, that ultimately provides you with your local health department's contact and information, because that's who is responsible for that, for things like local complaints or local inquiries. So let's start over. Now I'm going to be a small business or government. So I'm going to click on this. And today we're going to be in Ashtabula County. So like I showed you just now, you will select the county that you're in. You don't have to. Actually, I'm going to go back and show that real quick. You don't have to select a county. However, we really encourage you to. If you know what county your business is located in, this provides us with, or it helps direct in the application the contacts that you will be provided. It will give you the correct district office contacts. If it's something that's administered by your local health department or air agency, it'll give you those contacts. We've really set it up to give you the best contact based on your location. So I highly recommend selecting your county when you start this process. And now we've arrived to the business activity screen. This is the screen that I had on the slide earlier today. You'll see that we have several options here for different kinds of industries, as well as specific permitting requirements. So we've kind of divided up based on, like I said, the most common inquiries we see, the most common industries that come that have small business requirements and need, some sort of permitting determination with us, as well as common questions we get about specific permits. I'm going to start with asbestos because I want to show y'all that, let's say I have an asbestos related demolition or renovation question. So I'm going to select the icon. I'm going to press next. And what you'll find is after pressing next, I'm already done with the information I need for asbestos. It's that fast. So less than a minute through Permit Wizard. It's going to provide me with some general overviews about what are required for asbestos demolition and renovation for my business. It provides kind of some general guidance, who you should contact here, or even some contacts at our agency as well. And then you'll see, because we're in Ashtabula, we're in Northeast District Office. And so the district office contact is here too, as well as the web page. You'll find that there's helpful links about dealing with asbestos demolition. You'll find some additional helpful links about contractor licensing and individual asbestos certification as well. And you're basically done. We've evaluated for asbestos with the information that you would need to proceed with that. When you're at the final landing page, let's say you want to save this information, you're going to want to download your results. If you click download your results, this is going to generate all of this information, including the links, into a PDF for you that you can save and you can use as you need for your business. So that's how fast some of these options are. It can be one click and the information there is provided for you. Another thing I want to show is we're going to start with industrial stormwater management. Industrial stormwater applies to a lot of different kinds of industries and business, but it's one particular type of permitting requirement that we kind of have with our agency. So I'm going to say that I want to evaluate for industrial stormwater management. When I arrive at the screen for industrial stormwater management, it's got some general overview about the permitting requirements. It also cites what I'm selecting and the county I've selected as well. You'll see that we have contacts once again for Ohio EPA Northeast because we're in Ashtabula County, or that's what I selected. And then you'll see the contact for their Division of Surface Water as well. You'll also find that there's some general information here captured in this kind of first general information screen. It'll say things like, depending on their standard industrial classification or SIC code, some facilities are required to obtain an industrial stormwater permit. And then it'll go on to talk about how you determine your SIC code and where to look in Appendix D to know whether or not you need to obtain a permit. To kind of evaluate for that or other options. There's other things available, but this is just a general overview. And then you will find a general fact sheet as well. So if you're just looking for a quick intro into who kind of requires a stormwater permit, what is that based on, it's here available on this screen. Let's say you know more about your business and you're like, I'm pretty sure it applies to me, but I'm not really sure. I kind of want to know more information. You can find out if it applies to your business by clicking this box here in the middle and then doing a deeper dive. So you have your general requirements here. And now we've decided that we're going to find out if they do apply to my business. I'm going to press next. That takes us to the start of an evaluation for industrial stormwater management. This starts with the SIC code. It talks about where to find it using the OSHA SIC search page. It provides that link for you to go looking there. And then it also provides the link to Appendix D of Ohio EPA stormwater regulations to determine if your SIC code is subject to the permit or needs to be evaluated for whether or not you need that permit. So the first question is, what is your SIC code? There's a couple different options here. You can decide if you know that it requires a stormwater permit, you can put it in and press yes. There's also no, if you know that it doesn't. And then if you're uncertain, let's say you go looking and you just are having a hard time figuring out what applies to your business, you can check uncertain. Either way, you can put in a code here. And this box can be the code that you think applies to your business, even if it's yes or no. It's going to save that for you in your PDF at the end. And then if you take that to our agency to ask questions or get assistance in getting a stormwater permit, we have it all captured there for you. So we do encourage you to include your SIC code. However, if it's uncertain, you don't have to include this code. I'm going to say yes, it's subject to it. I'm going to put in 2419 as an SIC code. After I've said yes, you'll notice that this generates more questions for my business. Originally, when I pressed uncertain, you'll see down here at the bottom, it says permitting was not evaluated because the SIC code is unknown. So without that SIC code, it can't evaluate it properly, and it's going to give you some general guidance for getting that code at the end. If I say yes, though, you'll see that there's more questions, and it hasn't really made a decision yet. There's no guidance there at the bottom. And so it says, does this business conduct some operations outside? I'm going to say yes, we do. It provides another option for me. Is it conduct outdoor activities under a storm-resistant shelter? I'm going to say no. When I say that, it says that an industrial stormwater permit is required. So this kind of provides the answer that it's going to give me on the final screen. Let's pretend that I say yes, though. What happens then? Now you'll see that this box here has changed, the results box, where it says no exposure certification exemption. So because all my activities are in a storm-resistant shelter, it's telling me that there is an exemption that might apply to my business. I'm going to leave that as yes. We're all in a storm-resistant shelter. Press next. You'll find that we've made it to the final results page again. You know, because it says that you've completed the Permit Wizard evaluation for industrial stormwater management, and you will see this download your results as well. You can see that we've captured the SIC code I entered as well as the county that I'm in. And now that we're at this final results page, it has changed a little bit from those general requirements we saw in the beginning. And it's telling me based on this evaluation, it applies, the permit requirements apply. However, we have a no exposure certification exemption that probably applies instead. And it says that my facility has an SIC code that's subject to the industrial stormwater permit. However, based on my responses, it may qualify for this exemption that we've identified. It then provides you links to a fact sheet, how to apply, and application instructions for a no exposure certification as well, along with some general information about that too. So you can tell that we've taken a little bit of a deeper dive in looking at our stormwater results, but it really hasn't taken us that long. As I've gone through this process and even explained, maybe 5 minutes really to make this evaluation. It would go much quicker if you already have this information on hand. So based on these results, we qualify for a no exposure certification exemption, and we were able to evaluate for that using the Permit Wizard tool. All right, we're going to start over again. I'm going to be a new business now. Small business. This time, I think I'm going to be in Butler County. So I've selected a new county because I'm a new business. And today, I am an aggregate processing business in Butler County. So this particular selection is a industry or business specific selection. It's looking at a certain kind of industrial process that we see often. And I wanted to select this one to demonstrate for you that Permit Wizard doesn't have to be just single media. It's not necessarily just stormwater that I'm looking at. When I come into aggregate processing businesses we know typically have multimedia requirements with our agency. They may have air permitting requirements as well as stormwater permitting requirements. And then as we keep going, even potentially wastewater permitting requirements. So Permit Wizard doesn't just say, we're going to look at only one thing. It can look at it multimedia for your industry as well. And so based on this, there are several different requirements that it has cited on this general first landing page. It's going to provide a general overview of what most aggregate processing facilities that we regulate have. Most of them have some air permitting requirements. And it says typically they need an air permit to install and operate. So you know you probably are going to need one for some pieces of your operation. It also talks about maybe a model general permit or a permit by rule. There's also maybe exemptions depending on how you operate your business. So those are all things we can evaluate by clicking this find out if air permit exemptions or simplified permit options apply. We're going to click that for this one because we want to evaluate what our air permitting options are. Another thing that it has here built into it, so we just went through the industrial stormwater permit by itself, is industrial stormwater requirements. We know that those requirements typically apply to aggregate processing businesses. And so that flow that we just worked through is now built into this industry-specific application. And you'll see some general requirements here. They may be exposed to stormwater. And then it says aggregate processing plants typically fall under the SIC code 1422 to 1429. They're required to have an industrial stormwater and follow the special requirements in Sector J. And they typically won't meet the no exposure certification exemption because the business is outdoors in nature. It's very rare to see aggregate processing happening in a totally storm resistant shelter, all inside together. Very rare thing to have happen. So we do provide even some guidance there that, you can go through that flow again and try to evaluate if you would qualify for no exposure, but you probably don't. So that may limit your time. So I'm going to say I'm not going to evaluate for that because I know that I'm crushing things outside. I'm not going to qualify for that, so I'm not going to evaluate for that one. But then it also says that sometimes we can generate wastewater from an industrial process. It gives some common ideas of what that looks like. And since I don't know about that one, I'm going to say, yeah, I want to evaluate for that. So we now are evaluating for two separate pieces as a deeper dive. I know my general requirements, kind of what applies to my business, but I'm looking for that deeper dive now for these two requirements. I'm going to say next. Now, air permitting requirements can be really complex for different businesses. And when I say complex, it may just mean that you have multiple permits that may apply to your one business. There may be different kinds of permits, maybe even different kinds of exemption. You may need a permit for one type of application, and you may qualify for an exemption for others. So we want to evaluate what applies to this business. So we're going to start with what type of aggregate processing does this plant have? And today I'm going to be a sand, gravel, or crushed stone plant. And there is an aggregate processing plant. Is it portable? I'm going to say yes. We have a portable plant today. And what is the capacity? Today we're going to be 25 tons or less per hour. So this, based on these questions that I've answered, it's telling me that non-metallic mineral processing plant permit by rule may be available to my business. Let's change some of those answers though. What if I say, no, it's not portable and I only do 10 tons or less per hour? The permit by rule still applies. Good for me. So let's move on to the next one. And then it says, does the business operate an emergency electrical generator or air compressor or water pump? I'm going to say yes, we do. Does the pump burn only one of these four fuels? I'm going to say yes. And is the emergency generator or pump greater than 50 horsepower? Let's say no, it's a little one, smaller. Now we find that even though we need a non-metallic permit by rule for our stone crushing operation, that the air permit exemption for our generator, pump, or compressor appears to apply. So I may be able to get an exemption for this piece of equipment that I have as well. We're going to keep going, and we're going to evaluate paved or unpaved roadways or parking areas. So it wants to know, do I want to evaluate whether I have permitting requirements for those? I'm going to say yes. And it says, does the business meet all the roadway or parking area exemption conditions listed in OAC 3745-3103B1 triple J, which is kind of complex language. The good news is that those conditions, it's only 3 conditions, they're spelled out for you right next to this question. So you can come over here and look at, what does that mean? Vehicle miles traveled on roadways is less than 3,800 miles per year. That's 3,800,000 is a lot more. And air emissions for roadways and parking areas are less than 5 tons of particulate emissions per year. Air emissions from roadways and parking areas are less than 1.5 tons of particulate matter, less than 10 microns, PM10 per year. So we've got those requirements. We're going to say, yeah, we meet all of those. And because I say, yes, I meet those, I qualify, or it's telling me I probably qualify for an exemption for the roadways. What if I don't know, though? I'm uncertain. If I'm uncertain, it gives me a couple other questions. Are they unpaved? I'm going to say, yes, they're all unpaved. And because of that, it's asking me another question. Are they between 12,000 and 30,000 square feet? Yes, they are. And then it says, are some all paved? I'm going to say, no, they're not paved. I guess I need to answer that question too. Because of that, it's telling me that unpaved roadways and parking areas permit by rule probably applies to my business. If I say no here, that they're not between that size, it's telling me now that I need a model general air permit. So using the answers we provided, it allows me to kind of make the determinations about what kinds of permitting may apply to my business. Is there a simplified option like a general permit or permit by rule? If they're not unpaved and they're all paved, and I say they're not between this, it's telling me again I need a general permit. So it evaluates each time depending on the answers that I give it. We're going to move on. Now it wants to know, do I want to evaluate permit alternatives for material storage piles? I do want you to recognize that we're still evaluating our air permit requirements here. So these are all different kinds of air permits or exemptions that may apply to my business. And we've had to evaluate a couple different things within our business to make those determinations for 4 different pieces of air requirements. It's not just, yes, you need a permit. There's multiple pieces to evaluate here, and Permit Wizard's doing that work for you. Do you want to evaluate permit alternatives for material storage piles? I'm going to say no. I just, I'm not feeling like evaluating that today. However, you can and do that dive there too. The next question is, we've changed now to industrial wastewater management evaluation. So you'll see now that it's trying to evaluate, do we have any wastewater requirements? Does the business produce wastewater? So it talks about cooling water, water mixed with oils and chemicals. Potentially it's water from a dewatering process or an aggregate processing business. We don't do that on site. So I'm going to say no. It's telling me no permits required for me. Let's say, yeah, we do produce some wastewater. Now it's going to start asking me some additional questions to determine what applies to my business. Does the business treat wastewater before disposal or discharging it? I'm going to say, yes, it does. And what's the method the business uses to manage its industrial wastewater? So now it wants to know, what do we do with it after we treat it? And so I'm going to discharge to a sanitary sewer. I'm in connection with my local sanitary sewer. They know that I'm discharging. Yes, I have permission to discharge with them. And it just tells me that I need to comply with their requirements because we have an agreement between us and my sanitary sewer. Let's say I'm discharging to outside, some water, a surface water, ditch, creek, Because I'm discharging to that, it's going to tell me that actually I need an industrial wastewater NPDES discharge permit. So depending on how I manage that industrial wastewater, says I need some kind of permit because I'm generating it. But now because I've told it how I'm managing that, it can give me good answers about what I should do with that water. Now I'm going to click next, and we've made it again to the final landing page. We've completed Permit Wizard for aggregate processing. You'll see here that it combines all of the results for the evaluation we've done here into a page for you. Another thing I do want to point out is if you'll remember at the very beginning, this time we were in Butler County. I wasn't in Ashtabula anymore. Southwest Ohio Air Quality Agency for our air requirements is going to be our authority that we want to get in contact with if we have questions. It's providing that contact information for them. If we scroll down, you'll find for the industrial stormwater and industrial wastewater, your contact is going to be your Southwest District Office with Ohio EPA. Also provides a different phone number for them as well. So the contacts have changed based on that county that I changed. Now that we've evaluated, it says that it's likely that air permit requirements apply, and it's going to tell us about those air permits when we saw them pop up at the bottom that apply to our business. We had that permit by rule for the non-metallic mineral processing. You'll have specific fact sheets, rules, and web pages about it here, as well as a link to help you apply. And then you'll see these other requirements for our generator or our compressor. We were exempt, so you'll see more information here as well. And these links are provided for you for each requirement that you see to get more information or learn how to apply for that. It even goes into detail about maybe some records that you may have to keep, or whether or not you're not required to notify EPA, as you'll see here, because you're exempt. So it provides a guidance based around those requirements that have been determined for you. As we continue to scroll down, remember we didn't evaluate for industrial stormwater because we were like, yeah, we're crushing stone outside. It probably applies to us. So you'll see the general requirements again, and it talks about the requirements for industrial stormwater with those links and how to apply with application instructions. And then we did evaluate for wastewater. And so it gives you kind of, based on what we have fed it, information about that. Since we're generating wastewater and discharging into a ditch or a creek, it says we need a NPDES permit. And it's going to tell us that pre-treatment may be needed even in some cases. And if we do that, we may need a PTI from Ohio EPA. So it's giving you those requirements for your business, as well as information about them here and how to apply, web pages, more information about that. Same thing with our permit to install. It says we might need a permit to install because we have a wastewater treatment system on site. So if we haven't gotten one of those, that may be something that we need to contact the agency about. Once again, tells you how to apply, different web pages, and it talks about contacting the division listed above. So we've made a pretty thorough evaluation of our aggregate processing business here. I think it took us, even with me explaining and making multiple options, about 9 minutes. So not very long. It's a really great tool. It can give you answers pretty quickly, get you where you need to go. And it's really useful for your business. I'm going to go through quickly one more option just to kind of demonstrate other opportunities for it and mention one more thing. We're going to go back. We're in Athens now. We've just got businesses all over the state today. One thing I do want to mention is that if you get here and you're like, well, I don't see my industry. I'm wanting to evaluate for my industry specifically, and you want kind of a deeper dive. We have incorporated that really deep dive with our previous Permit Wizard under Other. So if you're looking for something specific, you can come here and use that tool. It also provides you with information under Other for how to get in touch with us as the Office of Compliance Assistance and Pollution Prevention. We're happy to meet with you and talk with you and help you with that evaluation as well. But there are other activities here that you can evaluate for. We're going to go back. So the Other button does exist. Another thing I do want to mention too is let's do auto repair, auto body and collision. Today we're going to have an auto body shop. And so kind of like I demonstrated before, this is giving us kind of an industry-specific overview. Here's the general requirements that may apply to your business. You've got hazardous waste, scrap tire management, and air permitting, as well as potentially industrial wastewater. There's a lot of multimedia, industry specifically that this may require compliance with our agency. Let's say I'm just, I'm in here and, I think I have the rest under control, but I only want to evaluate for one. I can do that. I can say I just want to evaluate my air permit requirements for my auto body shop. I can scroll down. I know the general requirements for these. I feel comfortable there. And I've decided I just want to do one. So you'll find that these questions are a little bit different than the questions we had for aggregate processing, because these are questions that would apply to someone with an auto body shop. What is the paint booth use? So now we're talking more about paint booths and specific applications that we know kind of apply to this industry and that we would evaluate when we talk with them for their permitting needs. I'm going to say we do the paint booth uses for only powder coating today. Does this business use less than 300 tons of powder coat per year? I'm going to say yes, it does. And then it gives you there was a fact sheet under there when I said uncertain. So if I don't know, we provide a fact sheet to help you with those calculations. If you get there and you feel like you need help, reach out directly to us. We're happy to provide those help. You also find, once again, that we've changed our location. So now we've got the Southeast District because we're in Athens now. So the contact information has updated for you too with your best contact. So I'm going to say yes, it's less than 300 tons a year. And you'll see that an exemption for powder coating paint applies to my booth. So I've evaluated for that. What if I choose to do other painting use? It says, does the business air dry all coatings? Or say yes. Does it use less than 5 gallons of coating per day? No, we have a lot of paint going through our business. And then have we calculated our emissions? If I say no, it says that no permit exemptions or simplified options apply to the paint booth. So I'm probably looking at some sort of permit. It would be best if I calculated them though. So let's say I did calculate them. And it wants to know if the paint booth emissions are less than 10 pounds per day. I'm going to say yes. Then it's a de minimis paint booth. So it's given us another option because we've done those calculations for our requirements. It simplifies our requirements with our air permitting evaluation. With those questions, we've completed Permit Wizard because remember, we were only evaluating the air permit side of an auto body shop in that situation. So we're back here to this final landing page. We've completed the Permit Wizard. We have download my results available. You'll see that based on what we've evaluated with those paint booth, we're at de minimis paint booth, and it talks about those requirements. We can review those exemptions in the rules link, and it does say that we must maintain records that demonstrate that we meet that exemption. So it gives us some information about what we need to do to maintain that de minimis exemption. It also summarizes those other requirements we saw on the first screen with information about what to do with them and provides general links for that too, so that you can learn more information. One thing I do want to show you is that it's really important when you get to this final page to download your results. Because Permit Wizard is a confidential tool, if you don't download those results, they're not saved. So if you have gotten to this point, you're like, yes, I need to do these calculations. I kind of know my requirements. I want to take this with me. I'm going to go talk to the agency now to work on my permit, make sure I have everything in place. You can click download my results, and it's going to download a PDF that you can open that has, so here's the PDF. We're just going to put it in downloads for now. And then if I want to open it, I can. And this is the PDF it generates for you. So you'll see that this PDF here includes all the same information on that final screen that we have there, including links. And these links should work for you in PDF form. The other thing it has when you get to the end, so here it combines all that information that we still had. Now you can save it to your computer. It talks a little bit about health departments and solid infectious waste partnerships with Ohio EPA, and those requirements for you depending on your location. And at the end, it does provide a summary of the questions you've kind of answered. This is really helpful more if you're working with Ohio EPA and you're like, hey, I think I qualify for a de minimis. And someone says, well, why do you think that? You can say, well, I answered these questions. Here they are. This is the answer I provided. That helps us kind of help you in the long run if you need that summary in the future. So really important at the end, if you're going to move forward with the information that's provided, you want to save a copy of it, download that PDF, save it to your computer. All right. And with that, I think we're done with the demonstration. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. And we're at the end here today. Thank you so much for your time. I really hope this was valuable to you and you were able to kind of get a good feel for our tool, look at it, think about how it may apply to your business, and feel free to please scan this QR code here. It'll take you directly to Permit Wizard. If you haven't had the opportunity to try our new application yet, it's deployed, it's online, it's available to you. And please check it out. Walk through it, see if it works well for you, and hopefully it'll help you evaluate your business needs. Thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, thank you, Emily. We're now just going to wrap up the webinar. As a reminder, you can still submit questions while we're doing the wrap up through your questions pane. We'll reach out to you following today's webinar if we don't answer your question. I'd like to again thank Emily for the great presentation, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. You will receive a follow-up email approximately an hour after the webinar ends. This email will contain a link to the recording, a link to your certificate to download, and a link to our survey. The survey will also appear once this webinar ends. We value your feedback and would greatly appreciate it if you let us know how we're doing. Let us know if there's anything we can do to further assist you. This webinar has not been pre-approved for any CEUs. If you are seeking CEUs on your own, please refer to the fact sheet included as a handout. We'd also like to bring your attention to our Encouraging Environmental Excellence Award program. This recognizes entities for exceptional achievements in environmental stewardship. Is your organization going beyond to reduce your environmental impact? Examples can include lighting retrofits, reducing water energy usage, recycling efforts, and process improvements. Is your community implementing sustainable measures to reduce their environmental impact? Examples can include community gardening, energy water reduction, green roofs, and smart transportation. Many of us have kids in school. Is your K-12 student implementing student-led sustainable activities at their school? Examples can include encouraging recycling, water bottle refilling stations, bus idling policies, and composting. This program has different levels of recognition for organizations, communities, and schools. You can go to the website on the slide to learn more about the program. Before we end for the day, please check out our upcoming sessions. February 2nd, we have a webinar on our water supply revolving loan account, or WSRLA program. This will review the program updates, review what's new for program year 2024. And the WSRLA offers low interest loan funds for a wide range of public drinking water system needs. On February 16th, we have a webinar on what can the Office of Compliance Assistance and Pollution Prevention do for you. As you heard earlier, OCAP provides free and confidential assistance to help Ohio businesses and organizations comply with Ohio's environmental requirements. To learn more, to achieve environmental compliance and reduce your liability and potential violations for working with OCAP, join us. On March 2nd, we have a webinar on how to apply for Encouraging Environmental Excellence Award. As I mentioned earlier, Ohio EPA recognizes organizations in the Buckeye State for exceptional achievements in environmental stewardship. through Ohio EPA's Encouraging Environmental Excellence Program. Any business, industry, trade association, professional organization, or local government of Ohio can be recognized for their commitment to environmental excellence. Attend this session to learn how to apply. These webinars will soon be on our event calendar in the next few days. And to register for these, you can go to our event calendar on our main web page, or our event calendar is also at the bottom. You can access it at the bottom of the web page, every web page footer. To register for upcoming or to receive notifications of upcoming webinars, you can go to our customer support center. You can create an account, and then go to the option subscribe to updates, then select the subscription option, all trainings, webinars, and conferences at the link on the slide. The customer support link's also at the bottom footer on each web page. If you miss past webinars, you can also go to DEPA's webpage link on the slide. Once you're on the DEPA webpage, click on the word training on the left-hand menu column. Here you'll find recordings of trainings you may have missed. You can also go to our agency YouTube channel to view recorded webinars. We'll post the recording of this webinar on our YouTube channel. It usually posts within a week of the webinar. We will also post a PDF copy of the PowerPoint slide with the recording. The YouTube channel link can also be found on the bottom of each of our web pages on the footer. The YouTube icon's next to the Twitter icon on the bottom right-hand side. With that, we'll end today's webinar. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great day.